Another relaxing day of straightening pamphlets in the visitors centre. Gee, this park ranger life sure is cruisy, like a paid pension.
This is no time for sandwiches, Ranger Tarrant. Emergency. Haven't you seen the notes?
That was my sourdough, aged 7 days. I mean, what memo?
Department of National Parks just faxed us.
We still have a fax machine?
Yes, and they say they've seen a 25% increase in 1-star reviews on Google. Says here, Bird looked at me funny. And bear refused photo. Now we have to inspect every major landmark and animal in every bad review and complete this landmark and animal customer satisfaction checklist.
But that's going to take hours.
Well, we have to fax them all our checklist by sundown. Or they are going to shut down the park and turn us into a mini mall.
Does the mini mall have a food court? Right. Park first, sandwich later. Hi, it's Tarrant.
And Stella, welcome to Meeple University.
Today we're going to teach you how to play the Peak team.
And entertain you with some sketches along the way.
This game is designed by Scott Alms and published by Matago.
And hey, remember to like, subscribe and comments. For now, let's get to the classroom.
The Peak team is a cooperative game in which players take on the roles of rangers, hiking and working their way around the park and trying to complete missions. Now, whether they are government employees dealing with endless bureaucracy, or whether they're just hikers trying to get the best views is up to you. Either way, your aim over 6 rounds is to visit all of the destinations that you take on mission cards and to encounter all 9 of the animals. You'll work cooperatively, splitting and sharing the cards in your hand and then spending them on movement and on taking the animal tokens. Complete everything by the end of the 6th round to win the game. The game plays over 5 levels of difficulty, each adding more rules and challenges to your hike. And we'll begin this video by taking you just through the basic level 1. Okay, you got the map?
Checked. You got the supplies?
Check.
What is this?
It's the supplies.
It's a mess.
It's improvisation. Look, there's no time to organise now. We'll have to sort it out as we go along. Right. Have you got the list of landmarks?
Here.
Wait. There's only 2 landmarks. You had me worried.
You don't get it. These are just the sunrise landmarks.
Huh?
Well, username ParkPuncher84 said, 1 star, the trees at the Psych Ladies were too mossy at sunrise. So the department is making us go there at sunrise to check. They're not even going to fax us the mid-morning list until later on the day.
But that's the most inefficient thing I've ever heard, and I still use a nib and inkwell. To set up, pick the side of the board which corresponds to your player count. We'll be showing you a 3-player game. There are 12 animal tokens, and you'll use the 6 universal ones and the 3 which correspond to your player count. There's also 84 supply cards with this back, which, among other things, show those same animals. And you'll again take all the universal ones and the ones for your player count. For the supply cards, shuffle all of them together into a single deck and place each animal on the side which does not show any icons onto its matching image, which will be in its coloured region of the board. They'll be vertically in roughly the same order as these shields on the sides. Just be clear that you're placing them on the map and not on the shields. Each player takes a player board and their coloured ranger, 2 flags, and 1 support token placed here. Shuffle up the deck of small cards labelled Mission. This is not the special missions, just the missions. Each of these cards will show on its other side one of the 32 letters or numbers matching the locations on the map. Every location on the 1 to 3 player side has a letter or number. The 4 and 5 player side has some empty spaces. From this deck, deal 1 mission face up to each player, taking that slot's flag and marking the matching location. Deal face down missions into the slots beside the board based on the numbers shown here. So in the round 1 slot on this side of the board, I would deal 6 missions, then 3 missions into the round 2 slot, and so on. Return leftover missions to the box unseen. Place the round marker at round 1. At this point, there'll be a whole range of board features and components that you haven't placed. Don't worry about this, they all relate to the higher levels of play and aren't used in level 1. Players discuss and choose their starting locations, which must be a ranger station that includes the word start. Once all players are placed, choose a first ranger and you're now ready to play. The peak team plays in rounds, and each round resolves in 3 steps. First is supply drop. Players draw the new cards from the deck which are used for taking actions, but they don't get to keep the cards they drew. They must share them left and right to their neighbouring players. Second is taking actions. Starting from the first ranger and going clockwise around the table, players take it in turns to spend cards from their hands or other resources available to them to take actions on the board, moving around and trying to complete the various objectives. You can take any number of actions on a given turn, but if you pass on your turn, you get no further turns. Step 3 is round end. Check to see whether the end of the game has been triggered, and if not, advance to the next round. To win, players have until the end of the 6th round to draw and then visit the location on every single mission card in the game, and to record all 9 animal tokens. Fail to achieve this by the end of the 6th round, or fall too far behind on missions at the end of any single round, and you'll lose the game. Okay, time to distribute supplies. I've got 2 backpacks and 1 snowshoe. What do you need?
1 backpack and 2 snowshoes?
The first phase of each round is supply drop, and this is how you gain the new supply cards that you'll need to take actions throughout the rounds. First, each player simply draws 4 new cards into hand. It is possible that you'll already have some cards in hand at the start of this phase, and if that's the case, you still draw 4 new cards and add them to whatever you had. You may look at all of your cards, but from this point forward until the end of the supply drop phase, you are not allowed to show or discuss them with the other players in any way. You're now going to share all of the cards in your hand, both the newly gained one and the ones you already had, with your neighbours to the left and right. So look through your cards and then, as evenly as possible, decide which cards to give to your left and which cards to give to your right, placing them face down on those sides of your board. This must be as even as possible. If I had 4 cards, it must be 2 cards split each way. In this case, I had 5 cards, so it's 3 cards one way and 2 cards the other. Although you can't discuss and strategize, you can look at what your teammates have face up, maybe their missions or where they are on the main board, to decide which cards they'll want the most. Once everyone has made their splits, hand the cards to the appropriate players and receive the cards from your teammates. Pick these cards up. Players are now allowed to discuss again, and you can look at what has become your hand. It's now time to go to where most of your progress will take place, the actions phase. Chopper, come in. The actions phase is resolved in turns, starting from the first ranger and going clockwise around the table. On a single turn, you may take as many actions as you want, one after the other, as long as you can afford the cost, which is usually the supply cards in your own hand, although it can include other resources like players' support tokens. After taking one or more actions, play goes to the next player, and so on around the table. If on your turn you take no actions, then you pass, and all of your future turns in this round are skipped. This card shows all the different options for actions, and first we'll talk about move. At its very simplest, to move, discard a card from your hand to move along the type of path it depicts. Here, for example, this is one step of hiking, which represents one green path, so I could move like so. This is one step along a road route, so I could spend it to move here. Many cards have multiple copies of the same icon. This is 3 climbing icons. It would allow me to move along 3 climbing routes. There are 4 standard types of move which work in this way, and those are the hiking, driving and climbing, as well as snowshoeing, which you'll find in the peaks. Then there's 2 non-standard methods of movement. There is paddling. This allows you to move any number of spaces, but only downstream along the river. And there's the helicopter, which lets you pick up from any location and drop off at any ranger station. There are also wild movement cards, which let you take a single icon of any type of movement except for helicopter. You do not have to use every icon you play. Here I could spend these 3 snowshoes and then use only 2 of them to reach peak T. After completing a movement action, and this is only after finishing the action and giving up any excess icons, there are 3 possible optional effects you could resolve. The first is that if you finished in the same location as one of your active missions, you complete the mission, retrieve your flag, and discard the mission card to the bottom of the board. The second is to share cards. If you end in the same destination as another player, then the 2 of you may freely look at each other's cards, discuss, and then make exchanges, equal or unequal, in any combination you wish. The third option, if you finish in a ranger station, is to get new missions from headquarters. If you choose to get a new mission, draw the top mission from this round's deck, and then you may look at it, but you may not show it to or discuss it with any of the other players. You must then choose which player, including yourself, takes this mission. Pick the player, give them the mission, and they place the appropriate flag on the board. You may, if you wish, draw multiple new missions on each visit to a ranger station. However, once you've taken and looked at a mission, you must now choose someone to give it to. You are limited to giving at most 1 new mission per player at each visit to a ranger station, and no player is allowed to hold more than 2 missions at a time. So, having distributed T and H on this visit, if blue chose to draw another mission, it would have to go to red, regardless of whether it's tactically beneficial or not. You're also limited by the current round's draw deck, and you cannot take from ahead of the current round. Since you can only do this after movement, I would need to move away and then move back before I could give out more missions from the same station. If through this action a player is given the mission corresponding to their current location, then they must wait until the start of their next turn, but resolve it immediately at that time. You do not have to move away and come back to complete such a mission. The second main action you can take on your own is to record an animal. If you are in a location in a region with an animal, and so this will be one of the spaces with the matching colour, you can spend a supply card from your hand which depicts that animal to collect the token and simply keep it on your board. It serves no other function in this level of the game. Come in, Ranger Stella. Buttercup Meadow is done. How are you going with Widow and Widowmaker's Peak?
I'm choosing the next distribution of missions.
In the Peak team, you are a team working together towards a common goal. We've already seen that you're going to draw and then share cards amongst each other, and that you'll be giving your teammates new missions, and that when you visit the same location, you can look at and share cards freely between the players. Each player also has one support token, and on your turn, as part of playing cards to take a movement action, you can also use the support tokens of one or more teammates, flipping it over to gain a wild movement icon, which, much like the wild card, counts as any single icon except for helicopter. You cannot use your own support token, only a teammate's support token. This is Rangers helping other Rangers. If you do wish to use one of your teammates' support tokens, you ask them for permission to use it, and they must grant it before you can use it. Any player, as an action on their own actions phase, may spend any 4 movement icons from cards in hand to reactivate their support token, ready to be used again. I've alluded to this throughout, but there are some restrictions on communication which apply during play. Those walkie-talkies you're carrying just aren't quite perfect. The things you need to remember are that from the point that you draw and look at cards until the point that you've split them up during supply drop, nobody is allowed to talk. From the time you've drawn a new mission to the time you distribute it, nobody is allowed to talk. And when 2 players are in the same location, they, but only they, are allowed to freely look at each other's cards and fully discuss them. At all other times, you can discuss anything except for the specifics about the cards in your hand. At any time, you can talk about what actions you're able to do, but you should not talk about the specific icons or specific movement paths on your cards. That fully open information sharing is allowed only when you're in the same location. Yes, sir. We've faxed through the last 10 checklists and fall further behind and you'll shut us down. Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. Pencil pusher. Once a player has passed, they are out of the round, although they may continue to use support tokens in support of other players. Once all players have passed, the round is over. Players keep any unspent supply cards in their hand, ready to split in the next supply drop, and the first Ranger token is rotated 1 step clockwise. Now count the remaining mission cards in this round stack. If there are 4 or more cards there, then the game is over. You've fallen too far behind and you've lost. If there's 3 or fewer cards there, then the game is still going, you live to fight another day, and you pick up the cards from the current round and move them to the next round stack. Now move to the next supply drop. To win, the players must both take and complete every mission in the game. And since you won't be able to access the last mission until round 6, it means it will always go for the full 6 rounds. If by the end of round 6 you've completed every mission and recorded all 9 animal tokens, then you win the game. If you get through 6 rounds and there's still an unclaimed mission or an unrecorded animal, then the park is closed and the game is lost. Job well done. Park saved.
Bad news, Ranger Tarrant. Even more 1-star reviews, even some 0s. Like this one, Bitten by the ambience.
But we did the checklists. Surely these reviews are just trolls.
Well, the department has just told us to step up our efforts.
Once you've mastered the basic level 1, it's time to move on to bigger and better challenges, beginning with level 2. Level 2 has 2 new mechanisms. Firstly, when you place the animal tokens, instead of placing them without their icons, flip them over to their icon sides. Secondly, you're going to begin the game with 4 of the board's routes blocked by various hazards. Shuffle the 10 blocking tokens, draw 4 at random, and then place those onto the routes with the corresponding icons. While they're on the board, no player is allowed to move along a blocked route. Here I could not discard this hiking to get to space 2. If I needed to get there, I would have to climb and then hike to get around the hazard. Then, as was the case for level 1, when you record an animal, you'll add it to your board. The animal token, while it's on your board, behaves much like a support token. That means you're not allowed to use it for any purposes, but another player on their turn may, with your permission, use your animal token to resolve one of its icons. In most cases, the left icon is to gain a certain movement icon. So, if blue needed a hiking icon, blue could spend red's token. There are also some animals with the draw 2, discard 1 icon. Here, red could spend blue's token to draw 2 supply cards from the deck, look at them, choose one to keep, and discard the other. The other icon, which is present on every animal token, is repair, and you can spend another player's repair icon to remove any single block token from the map, regardless of its location relative to your ranger. Move spent animal tokens to their shields on the board. You will have had 6 blocking tokens left over after setup, and blocks that you repair are returned to the box, not added back to the supply. At the end of each round, new blocking tokens will go on the board based on how many missions you had left in this round. Here I've got 2 cards left, so I must reveal and place 2 new blocking tokens. Move those leftover missions to the next round as usual. If you don't have enough blocking tokens remaining to pay the entire penalty for missions you have left over, then you lose the game. After level 2, you can move on to levels 3, 4 and 5. I won't take you through their rules in detail, but some of what you've got to look forward to are special missions where multiple players have to stand on different destinations at once, a method of scoring where instead of simply winning or losing, you try to complete as many special missions as you can for points, player powers to grant you some helpful benefits, and adverse weather conditions which add extra challenges and restrictions to your play. Right, that's it. I'm on strike. This park is too large for 2 people to cover in a day.
Let's ask Vicky for help.
Vicky? The 60-year-old lady who refills the sugar bowls?
No, that's Nikki. Vicky is that robot park ranger the department bought us.
Oh yeah. To play the peak team with 2 players, you will need to use a dummy 3rd player known as Vicky. Vicky acts as a complete 3rd player in many ways, including taking a position in turn order and potentially being 1st player. However, the 2 human players will work together to control Vicky's actions. Rule changes for Vicky are as follows. During the supply drop step, each human player draws 4 cards and distributes the cards left and right as usual. So here, yellow would give 2 cards to Vicky and 2 to red. Red would give 2 cards to Vicky and 2 to yellow. Now to represent Vicky's supply drop, draw 2 cards from the deck for each player. Vicky's hand of cards can be displayed face up, and unlike the human players, any cards which Vicky carries over from round to round will stay with Vicky. They aren't redistributed during supply drop. When it's Vicky's turn, the 2 human players work together, looking at the cards Vicky has available to decide what actions are taken. The only standard action which is not available to Vicky is when visiting a ranger station, Vicky cannot distribute new missions. Only one of the 2 human players is allowed to do this. Good news, Ranger Stella, Robot Ranger Vicky. The national park is saved and government cutbacks have downsized the number of micromanagerial bean counters in the department, so this will never happen again.
Like and subscribe or be fed to the beavers.